Thank you. All right, I'm going to go live. So I can't say anything. Yeah, I checked. Yeah, I checked it out.
We were going to be a score spread, but they're meandering in.
Okay. No visitors?
No visitors?
Joyce's sister. Okay.
I thought Farouk said she was coming with Mary Gill, and Mary Gill is here.
The sister may drive, who knows? La da da da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, ya da 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 da.
Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da. One more time with me.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Nan Rubin Lieber, and I am a trustee with Temple Beth Shalom. I would like to welcome everyone in the synagogue to our Martin Luther King Shabbat, and to those on YouTube who are streaming our service live. There will be announcements at the end, but at this time I would like to ask Faye Henning-Bryant to introduce the visitors, and then Jan will lead us in the service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Nan. We have some visitors this evening. Julie Levin. Julie Levin. Hi, Julie, in the back. Larry Dworkin, sitting next to Julie. Welcome, Larry. And Rhea Heil. Hi, Rhea. Welcome to Temple Beth Shalom. And if everybody who is sitting close to our visitors can turn in your seats and introduce yourselves. And for those who aren't sitting next to visitors, you can still turn into your seats and say hello to somebody next to you. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
He's such a fan. He's saying hello to the empty seats.
Oh. Okay, amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome to our Martin Luther King Shabbat service. I am very honored to be able to have the privilege of leading our service this evening. My name is Jan Sotos. I'm a past president, or as I like to think of it, a has-been around here. Have been this, and have been that, and have been this. So I kind of earned the title, but this is a real joy, and it's so good to see everybody and be here. And so, with that, I wish you all a happy Shabbat Shalom. We're going to have a wonderful service this evening. And let's all begin with our Shalom Aleichem. If you'll please rise and join in fellowship.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barakuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitekhem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And lighting our candles this evening is Babette Spatz. Page 120.
You may be seated,
You may
right?
be seated,
Yeah, right.
yes. Got to remember to tell them that. 120. It was open.
I'm sorry. Got it? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kibishanu v'mitzvah, v'tikvanu v'ad l'pnei shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallowed us with mitzvot, and commanded us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, Babette. And ladies and gentlemen, there are days. You may sit. Okay?
If you insist.
As long as the ark is not open, we can sit. And there are days, and we're going to read about them today together, please, on page 127, top of the page. Please join me. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat. We rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Thank you. And Kabbalat Shabbat, page 138, Laka Dodi.
Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Leka dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Leka dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Leka dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Shahamot v'zachor v'divur Ishmi anu el ha-meyuchad Adonai echad U'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litila L'chadodi nikrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabala L'chadodi nikrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekabala.
Okay. And this evening, Judy Fagan is going to read a psalm on page 140 in memory of her father, Saul R. Glass.
A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name. O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak. Your faithfulness each night with a 10-string harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know. A fool cannot understand this. The righteousness blooms like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock in my whom there is no wrong.
And Judy, may your father's memory be a blessing. Thank you. And we enter the Ma'ariv service. Please turn to page 144 and stand. Please rise.
David Kadash Shemei Rabbah Yamad Ivrachirutei V'yamlich Malchutei B'chayechon U'v'yamechon U'v'chayedachot Beit Yisrael Bagala U'v'yizman Karib Immeru Amen Yeh Shemei Rabbah Mavorach Olam Me'almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yipar V'yitroma V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalar Shemei D'Kudusha V'richu Ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechamata Damiram ba'alma v'maru.
Page 146, Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praised be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever. You may be seated. We'd like to ask Marlene Green to step up to the reader's table to read once or twice in memory of her mother, Goldie Cooper. Page 231. Once or twice, page 231. And Marlene, may the blessing of your mother be a joy to you for the rest of your life. Now we'd like to have Jack Toby approach the reading table with a reading, O God, on page 147, in memory of his father, Abel Toby.
O God, you are as near as the very air we breathe, yet farther than the farthermost star. We yearn to reach you, seek the light and warmth of your presence. Though we say you are near, we are lonely. Let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil from our sight. Let your light illuminate our darkness and reveal the glory and joy of your presence.
Thank you, Jack, and may your father be a blessing to you all your life. You know, this evening we have a number of members who are celebrating the yahrzeit of their parents, and I can't help but think of my own parents this evening, even though we're not near their yahrzeits at this time. Herb Mayerovitz is going to approach the table to read Praise to You, page 149, in memory of his father, Julius Mayerovitz.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Wisdom sets the way on time and season flow. Breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide, time, and light, guides the current of day. Heaven spans to infinity, set its course for eternity. Blessed to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch Adonai, our Rabbi.
Very nice. And Jack, may the memory of your father be a blessing to your family. And yet another dad, another father fondly remembered, Arnie Berkowitz, in memory of his father, Benjamin Berkowitz, page 151, As You Taught.
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai Avra Amoy Yisrael.
And thank you, Arnie, and may the memory of your father be a blessing to you and your family. And now, if you would please rise for the Shema, page 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kod
Yakuto.
Le'olam Vaed Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
The ark is closed. Please be seated. As we turn to page 154 for the Via Hafta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לו תותפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים ללליכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in thy heart, shall be in thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou risest up, and when thou liest down, and when thou liest down. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hands, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that ye may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
Thank you, Cantor.
Pleasure.
Okay. And now, if you would join me responsively on page 157, In a World, bottom half of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in the dark ages your vision of world redeemed.
Okay, Jan, here's where you got to do your dance.
Oh my,
bit.
okay, here I gotta do the dance.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 bim bum. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 bim bum. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 bim bum. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 bim bum. Mi kamocha ba'alim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oh sefer, nora tehilot, oh sefer. מלכותך ולבניך בוקע עולם לפני משה ומרים זרי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ילה לה 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 ילה לה לה בים בם ילה לה 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 ילה לה לה בים בם ילה לה 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 ילה לה לה בים בם ילה לה 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 ילה לה לה בים בם ונאמר כי אדוני יעקב אומר חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Well, I can clap.
Okay, good.
Not going to vouch for the dancing. Okay, sing the song, page 159. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles as earth protected and cherished. A gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content. Her soldiers home, to leave no more. The song of world redeemed, the song of peace.
Sukat, Sukat, Shalomeka, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
Okay, and page 161, let there be love. I think it's a very appropriate prayer for this evening as we welcome in the Martin Luther King Commemoration Weekend. Let us read together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch Adonai HaPoreh Sukkot Shalom Aleinu V'Yakol Amo Yisrael V'Ol Yerushalayim. Lovely. Okay. We're moving right along this evening. We're entering the Tefillah service. If you would please rise as the ark is open. And Rabbi? Cantor.
Yeah. Rabbi.
Well, interchangeable
he'll be
today.
back next week.
Interchangeable.
Adonai Sivatai Tiftak Ufi Adi Tehillateka
164.
Adonai open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu
Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor HaNorah, El Elyon,
גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך פוסע משיח ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברגבים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסירים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות ומדמך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני בזיי הכל, אתה קדוש בשמך, קדוש וקדושים, בכל המהלו הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. Okay, and at this time, Lee Shedroff would like to do a reading in memory of his sister Fern Lynn Block, Days Pass.
I'm doing this in the memory of my sister, Fern Lynn Block, who died in 1969 at the age of 24, before her first wedding anniversary. She did not even enjoy her first wedding anniversary. She died of complications of gallbladder surgery. Days passed, years vanished, as we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with all is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
And Lee, may the memory of your sister be a blessing to you and the family. And now, as the ark is closed, you may be seated and take a moment for quiet, private prayer. Please be seated.
ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל
שלום.
הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Beautiful. Thank you, Catherine. You know, the past couple of years with the pandemic and so on have brought to my attention anyway.
Talking in the mic.
Uh-oh. Let's see if I'm hooked in. Okay. I'm green. Let's see. Does this help? There you go. Okay. All right. The past couple of years with the pandemic has certainly brought to my attention, and I'm sure you share this, a renewed awareness of the importance of prayer for our ailing friends and relatives and family and associates. And this part of the service has become even more important to me personally than it has previously. I hope you join with me in thinking of your family and friends that are in need of our prayers tonight for whatever ails them. And at the same time tonight, we do want to read the Misha Bayrak list for the temple. Warren Benkover, Barbara Chelfin, John Dembo, Jerry Farkash, Sarah Jane Feldman, Michelle Gluck, Roz Goldstein, Phyllis Jacobs, Michael Longmire, Terry Michaels, Amanda Mikulis-Magyari, Dora Sextro, Lee Shedroff, Sandy Shedroff, Regan Siegel, Janie Stein, Herb Stoloff, Lorraine Stoloff, Bert Stoloff, and last but not least, our own Helene Fox, our office manager, has tested positive for COVID and is at home resting comfortably, and we hope to see her back in a week or so. So with that and all the loved ones that you have added into your thoughts, Cantor?
Avotenu Mekor Abraha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Say, Amen. Shebeirach imotenu Mekor Abraham Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Okay, this weekend, Martin Luther King weekend, and we are very happy to be able to celebrate Dr. King's accomplishments. I want to do just a very brief reminder of Dr. King. He was born January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He died the 4th of April, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee by an assassin. His residence at the time of the award of the Nobel Peace Prize was the United States, and it was 1968. He had a lot of roles and a lot of jobs in the civil rights movement. He was leader of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SLUC, if you'll remember. His prize was largely centered and based on his nonviolent struggle for civil rights for the Afro-American population. He followed Gandhi and Gandhi's nonviolent approach to civil unrest, and has been, I think for all of us, we all lived through the civil rights era, and the era when he was very active in his work. I was in high school when the Civil Rights Act was passed, which was 1964. It took him a few years to get there, but he did. And he continued to do a tremendous amount of nonviolent positive influence in our culture, in our country, for millions of people, black and white. Tonight, in the Devar Torah, I want to bring to you a little bit different perspective on the civil rights movement, one from the perspective of education. And first and foremost, Dr. King was a teacher. And at this time, I'd like to introduce one of our past presidents and a teacher, Russ Robbins, who will do a reading of an essay that Dr. King wrote. Russ?
For those of you that don't know me, no, I'm not Dr. King. Okay. Close. I studied a little bit. Jan gave me some things to read, and I studied it a little bit, and I just blew me away at the insights that Dr. King had that I didn't realize until I studied it. I'm going to read to you a paper that he wrote while he was a junior at Morehouse College. As I engaged in the so-called bull sessions around and about the school, I too often find that most college men have a misconception of the purpose of education. Most of the brethren think that education should equip them with the proper instruments of exploitation so that they can forever trample over the masses. Still others think that education should furnish them with the noble ends rather than means to an end. It seems to me that education has a twofold function to perform in the life of man and in society. One is utility and the other is culture. Education must enable a man to become more efficient, to achieve with increasing facility the legitimate goals of his life. Education must also train one for quick, resolute, and effective thinking. To think incisively and to think of oneself is very difficult. We are prone to let the mental life become invaded by legions of half-truths, prejudices, and propaganda. At this point, I often wonder whether or not education is fulfilling its purpose. A great majority of the so-called educated people do not think logically and scientifically. Even the press. Hello? I think we just died. That's okay. I'll project. You can hear me all. All right. Even the press, the classroom, the platform, and the pulpit, in many instances, do not give us objective, unbiased truth. To save man from the morass of propaganda, in my opinion, is one of the chief aims of education. Education must enable one to sift and weigh evidence, to discern the true from the false, the real from the unreal, and facts from fiction. Function of education, therefore, is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. But education which stops with efficiency may prove the greatest menace to society. The most dangerous criminal may be the man gifted with reason, but with no morals. The late Eugene Talmadge, in my opinion, possessed one of the better minds of Georgia, or even America. Moreover, he wore the Phi Beta Kappa key, and by all measuring rods, Mr. Talmadge could think critically and intensively, yet he contends that I am an inferior being. Are those types of men we call educated? We must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. The complete education gives one not only power of concentration, but worthy objectives upon which we concentrate. The broad education will therefore transmit to one not only the accumulated knowledge of the race, but also accumulated experience of social living. If we are not careful, our colleges will produce a group of closed-minded, unscientific, illogical propagandists consumed with immoral acts. Be careful, brethren. Be careful, teachers. A lot of you saw that kind of thing happen with universities when they started to go way out in the extreme. So it boggled me the year that he wrote this. It was 1947.
And thank you, Russ. He wrote that the year I was born. And I also want to recognize Faye Henning Bryant at this point because she helped me immensely to prepare for tonight. Well, I was very fortunate to be cruising around in the Caribbean with Harvey and Russ and Gloria. Faye was doing some good old nose to the grindstone research back home here and had a lot of really important information for us at fingertip when we got home. Faye, thank you for keeping your finger on the book here and making sure things keep going smooth. I appreciate it no end. Well, I want to bring to you very quickly, very concise, a different perspective perhaps of the civil rights movement. When you think of the civil rights movement, what do you think of? You still can't hear?
Well, get closer to it. Just get closer to it, Jen.
This one works?
And the other one.
And the other, I'm right on top of the other one. Is this any better?
That's
okay.
good.
I will chew up this microphone. Thank you. Thank you, honey. Anyway, getting back to when you think of the civil rights movement, we all grew up in this period of history. We were all part of it in whatever capacity and age and stage we were in, but in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And when you think of civil rights movement, one or two words, what do you think of? What else? Civil liberties. What else? Voting rights. What else? Marches. What else? Equal rights. Sarah Rosa Parks. Different leaders of the civil rights movement. Those were the days. But there was another very important aspect that was not quite as visible in the civil rights movement as marches and banners and sitting at Woolworth's counter, dining counter, or not being allowed to sit at that counter, that I maintain propelled and launched the Civil Rights Act. And that started back 1 decade before the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964. And I believe it started before this, but the propellant was the legal federal legitimization of the civil rights movement through the Supreme Court case of Brown versus the Board of Education. Now, I'm a public educator. I was a product of the public system right through university, through a PhD. I taught at the University of Wisconsin. And I'm very proud of what public education has accomplished in this country. When you think of the multitude of humanity across all the decades that have crossed our threshold, and we never turn one away. Private schools, they make up the rules. You have a disability, physical, emotional, mental, learning, hearing, sight, whatever. Well, they don't have to provide that service. Goodbye. I think our public school educators are some of the most unsung heroes in the next to parenting important job in this world. And I'm very proud of them. We've got a long way to go in Arkansas, and Arkansas is ahead of Arizona. We have a long way to go in Arizona, but I'm from Wisconsin. I'm very proud of what we accomplished. At the same time, having said that, I was a teacher, a principal, a superintendent. I have a PhD in school law. My dissertation reads, the title, Legal Requirements for School Districts to be Declared Unitary Following a Final Finding of Unconstitutional Segregation. Now, the theory behind titles for dissertations, if you can't dazzle them with your brilliance, baffle them with your you-know-what. And that kind of title is one of those kind of situations. But let me break it down very quickly for you. I did my dissertation in the mid to late 80s, and Brown had been heard and ruled on in 1954. We're now 30 years plus down the road. And all that time, we did nothing in public education except fight. Every possible permutation of desegregating a school and giving all of our children the same opportunity. I'm not proud of that. In fact, I'm downright angry about it. It was wrong, it was immoral, it is against my religious values, it's against my American values. But boy, we sure did a good job of it for a long time. And the concept of unitary status after 30-some years, it was just sort of being wiggled around a little bit. When is enough enough? When does a school board get to have control of its school district back? Because you need to understand that when a school district is found guilty of intentional segregation, the federal court takes over control of the district. The school people still run it, but not without the close and guided supervision of the federal court. Now think about this. How many federal judges do you think welcomed the job of being superintendent? Not many. It was not a real good marriage, but that's the way the law is, and that's the way it went, and for 30 years, battling back and forth. My day job was teacher, principal, superintendent, but I also developed an outside private consulting practice, and I worked for a variety of clients. I worked for Judge Douglas Hillman, Chief Justice of the Federal District Court, the lowest level district court, Western District of Michigan, on school matters. I was his expert witness for 12 years before I retired. I worked for the U.S. Justice Department, the U.S. Department of Education, NAACP Legal and Educational Defense Fund, ACLU, plaintiff groups, and school boards. Now, I know the definition of a consultant is to hire that person and have them blow into town, blow off, and blow out. But I'm hoping I know a little bit more about this and can give you just a little bit of an insight. Brown versus the Board of Education was the first case to make it to the Supreme Court following the Civil War, the end of the Civil War. In the immediate 30 years or so following the Civil War, our country was adjusting The Emancipation Proclamation was signed by President Lincoln on December 25th, 1863. Slaves have been freed since that date, legally, in this country. But that wasn't the practice even after the Civil War and the North had won, and so on. There still was a tremendous amount of bigotry and racism and separation. And in the South, there was a legal concept in all the southern states that if you had 1/8 blood black, meaning one great-grandparent black, you were legally black in the state for legal purposes. Well, there was a gentleman who was blonde, blue-eyed by the name of Plessy, and he went to wait for the train in New Orleans train station, and there was a white waiting room and a black waiting room. And he could pass for white any day. And he didn't want to wait in the black waiting room. So he sat in the white waiting room. And because it's a small town, people knew each other, they knew that somewhere back in his history, his great-great-grandfather, slave master of a plantation, had his extra cadre of women, and his heritage included her. And he was arrested and charged with violating the separate waiting station thing. He took that fight all the way up to the Supreme Court. In Plessy versus Ferguson, it was in the 1878, I believe. And the Supreme Court ruled at that point that separate but equal is okay. You can have a white toilet and a black toilet, a white waiting room and a black waiting room. Public spaces can be divided by race. And that became the law of the land until 1954, when it was struck down by Brown. At that point, when Brown came to the Supreme Court, and by the way, it's named Brown only because there were 7 plaintiffs, 7 different groups involved in that case. It was not just Brown and his daughter. He got named because alphabetically he came first. So the case is well known as Brown versus Board of Education. He happened to be a minister from Topeka, Kansas, and his daughter was not allowed to attend anything but her neighborhood all-black school. The school was not funded equally. It was not given the same things that the white schools were given, and he protested and brought suit. In that trial, it was found by the Supreme Court that, in fact, separate but equal was inherently unequal. It just didn't make sense, and struck down. Well, in desegregation, school desegregation cases, there are 2 stages to each trial. So stage 1 in Brown was the finding that, yes, in fact, the school districts involved in that case had all been found intentionally segregating their schools by attendance lines and other things, and that no longer was going to be the law of the land. So now what do? Okay, now Martin Luther King, as a leader of the civil rights movement, got a wonderful and about time rightful win. But now what do you do with it? And that's where in school deseg cases, there comes a second trial called the remedy. And the second trial was heard in 1955, and it was researching all kinds of ways that a school district could legally fix or eradicate the vestiges of segregation that they had purposely allowed to happen or promulgated. Well, that started the 35-year battle of fights, which I'm not proud of. There was school districts that, okay, they knew they had to racially balance. Okay, So we'll do that, but we got to get the kids to school. So they would run 2 buses down the same street, one right behind the other. One would be the white kids' bus, one would be the black kids' bus, and they'd all go to the same school door and they'd all get off at the same place. Stupid. Stupid and embarrassing as a public educator. But we did a lot of stupid things like that. A lot of progress was made, but a lot of silly things happened. And when it got, one easy thing about the South, once Plessy versus Ferguson established the separate but equal status, states south of the Mason-Dixon line immediately promulgated statutes on their state law books that enforced separate but equal, that was in fact the law of the state. Not only was it the federal law, but it was the law of that state. North of the Mason-Dixon line, we weren't quite into that, but we were no less vicious. North of the Mason-Dixon line, there was a lot of segregation, particularly neighborhood segregation. I'm from Milwaukee, and you guys know Milwaukee is one of the most racially segregated cities in the country. You can go down a street and you can tell which side is black, which side is white. Redlining, a lot of real estate problems, and so on. And it seemed that every time school district growth would change, new schools and new houses would be built further out and people would spread. Well, gee, the school board just found a need to have to redistrict and keep those white and black lines. There was no law that said they had to do that, but that's in fact what happened. And when there is no law on the books like there was in the South, it was more difficult, time-consuming, creative to, in fact, prove intentional segregation. But it all happened. It all did go down. And that, without the law on the books, is called de facto segregation. That's a term you may have heard from through those years. Anyhow, a lot of good things happened that came out of those years for children and families. And it took a lot of energy and a lot of stupidity. One of the things that I would be frequently hired for would be, now, when you're found guilty of segregation, the authority for the district's turned over to the federal court, and the federal court requires, at minimum, one big giant summary report of the past year's progress every year. And that was one of my main jobs. I would review a district and the stats and so on and present that report. And all of it was for the intent of working a school district to the point where they had eradicated as much intentional vestiges of segregation possible, where it was rational, reasonable, and legal to turn the autonomy of the school district back to the school board, that they should go and sin no more. Well, I was on one of those trips, and it was for the U.S. Department of Education. It was in Vicksburg, Mississippi. It was summertime, and when I would go to do this, I wanted to make sure that I understood the physical details of a district, particularly when it came to busing patterns and so on. So I would literally go and visit every school and take pictures, notes, etc. Been working for a couple of days, and my partner and I pulled up to a high school in Vicksburg. The last school of the day that we were going to do, we were just about done. And while we were there taking pictures and so on, 3 huge dump trucks pulled up to the engineer's dock area, and they were full of boxes, cartons of new books, social studies books. That was perfect. That was exactly what should be happening in early August and summer in school districts. That's the time that you buy your materials, your furniture, your books, all that sort of thing. And that was exactly right, that they should be coming in. So we didn't think anything of it. After they got done unloading 3 big dump trucks full of cartons, They then pulled around the corner to the side of the school. I thought, that's interesting. And they opened the third floor window and threw out a chute. And then they started to pitch all the old books. Just threw the books out the window and down into the trucks, filled up the trucks, and then took off. And we looked at each other and said, I wonder what they do with all those old books. Is there an incinerator in one of the buildings that they take them to? Do they landfill them? What do they do with them? Let's follow the trucks and find out where they go. Well, we followed the trucks, and the trucks went into the deepest part of the inner city to what had been an all-black high school and still is pretty black, pulled up to that engineer's docking area, and lifted their dump truck and dumped 3 dump truck loads of old books in a pile in front of the engineer's loading area and took off. Okay, it's like 5:30. We weren't going to follow them anymore. We got out and went to find the engineer of that school. And he came out. He heard the trucks, and he knew he had a big job ahead of him. And we asked him, what's happening here? And he said, well, these are the social studies books that have just been delivered. And we said, do you have an incendiary capability here for the district? I mean, what are you going to do with all these books? And he said, well, I'm going to pile them up, and they're going to redistribute them this fall. And we looked at them, and I looked at the book. The book was already 10 years old. For social studies textbooks, that's mighty old. And we said, you mean you're going to use these books? Yeah, we get rid of the ones that are now 20 years old, and these are our new books for fall. Well, that wasn't exactly eradicating all vestiges of segregation. And I'll never forget the judge. He was not real happy because I had everything in pictures and documented and so on. And he ordered Vicksburg to provide orders and proof that new books were ordered for all students, not just the whiter, lighter schools. They were starting their deseg plan, but they weren't where they needed to be, and that all students that fall would get new social studies books, regardless of what school they were attending. I was not the most famous Fed consultant in town that week. Interesting things. But again, I maintain that education was one of the most significant boosters, propellers, moving the civil rights movement forward. And when the Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964, it contained things like Title I, or Chapter 1, it goes back and forth, Head Start program. It contained Title IX, which is equality in sports for particularly females. It contained Title VI money for assisting school districts to desegregate, because there's a lot of extra work and incurred expenses that aren't normally budgeted in the school district budget. It had a lot to do with housing and moving along all of the issues that Martin Luther King and people in the civil rights movement had done. I had some scary times. There was, I'm trying to think, it was Mendenhall, Mississippi. Well, I can't remember, but it was Mississippi. And you know, in the South, unlike in the North, in the South, school districts are based on your county. In the North, they're municipal, they're your cities. And we had to see the county superintendent for some information that the court needed. And we went to the town square, and the courthouse is in the town square, and the superintendent's office is generally in the courthouse. So we parked at ankle parking, went in, he had us wait for an hour, and we finally saw him. It was calm, it was peaceful, we got what we needed, turned around, walked out, and across from our car were 3 very interesting vehicles. One police SUV and 2 pickups. And they all had shotguns hanging in the back. And all sitting there waiting for us to come out. And so we got in the car very carefully. We pulled out very carefully. We sure watched the speed limit all the way out of town and all the way until we got to the I system. And boy, were we ever happy to get on that I system. At that point, the police car pulled off, but the 2 pickup trucks followed us until we were out of the county. I'm not proud of a lot of things that have happened along the way, but I am very proud and think that the fight was very worth it to provide the changes that we take for granted these days and as automatic. So when you think of civil rights, I don't know how much you think of education, but I hope now you also add into that equation the importance that some of our school cases have had in propelling us forward. So with that, I will stop boring you and turn our program back over to the cantor and move on to our Torah service. Tonight, we are going to be reading the first chapter of Exodus. We're going to read it in English. We're going to have a Torah service. We'll take the Torahs out. We will walk them around. And Marilyn Meyerowitz is going to read chapter 1 in English. And it is the beginning of the story of Moses and the beginning of the story of Passover. Tonight, what you're going to hear is going to be how we ended up with 12 tribes in Egypt, and how we started to really flourish, and how the king of the moment got a little threatened by that we just might get out of hand as that tribe of Jews and take over the country or something, and decided to crack down a bit with a lot of slavery. So that's where we're going tonight. Stay tuned for the rest of the story from now to Passover. I think you know how it ends, but in the meantime, please listen up closely and enjoy the journey. Thank you.
Adonai v'gamasecha malchutcha malchut kol amim umamshalcha bechol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai yamloch le'olam va'ed Ki mitzion tetzei Torah Ki mitzion tetzei Torah U'davar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Lamo Yisrael B'kedushato Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Gadol Shemo.
Did I blow the name?
Ki b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Ki b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Lecha Adonai Lecha V'amid na'aseh L'chol erosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtakavu Lecha kodsho Romemu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtakavu Lecha kodsho Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romamu Ki nohus Adonai Eloheinu romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu v'hakodsho romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'istakav lekar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu ramamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu ramamu. Adonai Eloheinu ramamu. Adonai Eloheinu ramamu. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Olam omer. Al shlosha devarim.
What?
Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Olam omer.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Just lay it down. We'll just keep it there. Now let me get through.
Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Olam omer. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Al shlosha devarim. Olam omer.
Okay. Okay, you may be seated. Okay. And this evening, we're calling up for prayer before and after the Torah, Gloria, and Stephen Bold, and Marilyn Myro Witz. Not Vitz, Witz. Thank you. Okay. Ready? Okay.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Bo'ed.
Adonai.
Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Ve'ela Shemot Bein Yisrael Avot Mitzrayim et Yaakov Ish Uveto Ba'u Ruvain Shimon Levi Ve'Yehuda Yiskar Zebulon Ubenyamin Dan V'Naphtali Gad V'Asher. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt with Jacob. Every man came with his household: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Ishkar, Zebulon, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. And Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren died, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mightily. And the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there befalleth us any war, they also join themselves unto our enemies and fight against us, and get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh store cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread abroad. And they were a dread because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor.
And they made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field, in all their service wherein they made them serve with rigor. And the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, you shall look upon the birth stool. If it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, and they are delivered ere the midwife come unto them. And God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mightily. And it came to pass, because the midwife feared God, that he made them houses. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save.
Wonderful. Met. Ezokinu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Lovely, thank you. And thank you. And didn't she fake us out with all that Hebrew? You don't realize how proficient this woman is in Hebrew. She's really good. So I figured she can do the Hebrew. She'll handle the English with great aplomb, and you did. Thank you very much. Okay, Steve and Gloria, thank you very much. Okay, better take it just in case.
Are we leaving the Torah, or are we picking it up?
What?
The Torah, what are we doing?
Oh, yeah. Honey, hand me the Torah, please. If you all please rise while we return the Torah.
Bezod HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael pi Adonai yad Moshe. Yehalelu et shem Adonai ki niskav shemo levado. Hod ha'aretz shamayim vayarem keren la'amo tehila lekol Idaf, live in Israel, Am Kavovo, Hallelujah. Aleinu l'shabbat, Latei Gedula, Leotzer Bereshit, Shalom, Tanu Gigoye Haratzot, ולא שמענו כי משפחות האדמה שלא היינו כהם בגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתגבים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא נאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד and on that day Adonai will be one and on that day God's name will be one.
Okay. And close the ark, but please remain standing for our concluding prayers. We have a yard site list. Benjamin Berkowitz, father of Arnold Berkowitz, Fernlyn Block, sister of Lee Shedroff. Sorry, I hope you can hear me. Ruth Datesman, mother of Miles Datesman. Louis Del Ciapo, father of Nick DiCiapo. Morris Feinberg, father of Bernard Feinberg. Saul R. Glass, father of Judy Fagan. Arvid Aq Longmire, father-in-law of Bonnie Longmire. Josephine H. Robbins, mother of Russ Robbins. Howard Rosen, son of Jerry Rosen. Rose Rosenberg, mother of Rivalette. Cora Rosenthal, sister of Miles Rosenthal. Rose Stoloff, mother of Bert Stoloff. Abel Toby, father of Jack Toby. We have our legacy members: Sadie Friedman, Jack Salzman, Yanka Greenstein, Jacob R. Price, William Richland, Lena Grossman, and Irving Rubin. We have had a recent death and burial this week of a past president of Temple Beth Shalom. His name was Jerry Black. And about 10 years ago, Jerry moved back to Louisiana to be closer to his family and his children, but was very instrumental. He was president from 1994 to 96. And can I see a show of hands? How many people in today's congregation knew him? Yeah, that's about it. Okay, well, anyway, with that, Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. If you join with me. If I can get there. Okay. Yit Kadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Bioma, Divrat, Kute, Bilik, Malkute, Bikaye Kon, Umyume Kon, Ukaye Deko Be Israel, Bialgala, Uizman, Kariv, Viru, Omen. Ishmei Rabba Mavorak, Leilam, Omea, Amaya, Yvit Yabak, Yit Shbak, Yit Vapar, Yvit Mom, Vit Nase, Vit Hadar, Vit Talea, Vit Talal, Shemei de Kujashav Orhu, Leolin Minkol, Berkata, Versharata, Tush Bekata, Venekmata, Daimin Vera, Nuru Omen, Yesh Lama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'kaye Alenu V'yakol Yisrael V'yuru Omen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav. Huyaseh Shalom Alenu V'yakol Yisrael V'yuru Omen.
They may be seated.
And you may be seated. And
okay,
we're closed. Okay.
All right. Well, I've got a song for Martin Luther King Day, and I'm glad it's a whole weekend we can think about it. I wrote this song based on the I Have a Dream speech. I didn't want it to be an opera, so therefore I didn't use his words. I just digested them all and let them come out for me, so that I can experience it myself. And I hope you'll enjoy experiencing it with me. I have a dream that hatred and war will cease. I have a dream of brotherhood and peace. I have a dream far-reaching and mighty deep. I have a dream, a promise I must keep. Hear the dream while it's created, with hope for all in need. Feel that gleam of inspiration, bring courage to succeed. I have a dream, our future is safe and fair. I have a dream to nurture with real care.
I have a dream, yes, life is its own birthright. I have a dream to guide us through the night. Join the dream and we will greet with plans of worth. Let this stream of kindness lead our way to heaven on earth. I have a dream, harmonious and powerful. I have a dream that honors one and all. Awake now from sleep, united with one great theme. Soon to succeed this dreamer and his dream. You shall become the dreamer and the dream.
Thank you, Cantor. That was perfect for the
Thank you,
theme of today. We have lots of announcements. I'll try to go through them quickly. Next Saturday is our special Saturday morning service featuring guitar music and a Shabbat potluck. Please call the office to make a reservation, and you will be given the address of where this will take place. Our weekly Torah discussion is held on Wednesday from 11 to 12:30 via Zoom. Call the temple to get the link so that you can join us. It's usually a lively discussion, and we average about 10 to 15 people at a session. It's very interesting. In February, the rabbi is going to have 2 courses going on for 4 weeks. America's Four Gods will be on Thursday morning, taught with the rabbi and Faye Henning Bryant. And on Tuesdays, a class on gratitude, which will be, both classes are from 10 to 11 in the morning. There is a charge of $18 for temple members, $36 for non-members. Again, there are sign-up sheets in the office, so please call the office during the week to register for them. Passages, which is a valley-wide Beit Midrash series of classes, will be coming to Temple Beth Shalom in March, on March 5th, 2023, at 12:30. You go on the Passages website to sign up for it, but it's nice that it's here instead of us having to travel to the East Valley. And the topic is Breaking Glass Ceilings, Israel's First Druze Woman in the Knesset. And the presenter is Gadir Kamal Maria. And again, tickets are available through Passages, thebjephoenix.org. We have flyers out in the lobby for all of these, so if you would like some additional information, please check the table. There's going to be a special Oneg Shabbat next Friday in celebration of Joan Knappin's 80th birthday. So I hope we see you here, and I know there'll be extra special goodies at that. Monday, Martin Luther King Day, is Sisterhood's January meeting, Scattered Among Nations. It's really a tribute to Ray Bolnick, our past member who passed away very recently, and she did it about a year and a half ago, where different people presented. We're doing, I think there are going to be some different things read this time, and see Judy Fagan or Yolanda Schatz or Meredith at the Oneg to if you have not made reservations and you would like to attend, just let them know so that they'll know how much food to prepare. And then the temple's monthly potluck will be February 3rd, so save the date. And the social action can-do item for this month is canned fruit. Bring your cans of fruit, leave it in the Valley View Food Bank box. And another save the date, Sunday, March 26th from 2 to 3:30. The Rural Street Klezmer Band is coming back. And this year it's going to be in the social hall. There's a flyer out again. Tickets are going to be $20 in advance, $25 the day of the performance. And again, feel free to go get flyers or call the temple on Monday if you want additional. Tuesday rather, if you wish additional information. And with that, I say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, and Nan, I messed up. I forgot to tell you this afternoon I received a call and a request for Mary Gill to be able to address the congregation tonight for one of our important functions in the temple. Mary Gill, would you like to come to the reading table?
It's too late there.
Oh. Join the club, honey. I'm sorry, Nan, I forgot all about it.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mary Gill, and thank you, Nan, for bringing us up to date on all the things going on around here. And with that, Cantor, are we ready for the final blessing?
The final blessing. Not really. After this, we sing one together, but this is the priestly benediction.
Priestly benediction.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
May God's light shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you.
Yisha Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen.
Right. Please stand and join us.
We
Just as we
go on our way, may we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Oi! Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat,
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Please be sure to join us in the social hall for Kiddush.
For the Bib.